Welcome again, everybody. In the world of CEOs, even conquering Everest starts with tying your shoelaces tightly. So I'm Palak Shah, your moderator, ready to unpack these titans and how they turn sweat into strategy. So let's dive in. First, we'll go to Mr. Mainak Dhar. Mr. Dhar, you have built empires on potato power. How has your personal wellness discipline trickled down to motivate your team's accountability, especially during those chaotic crunch times?
Hi, good afternoon, Palak. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I guess, the broader question is, as leaders, as individuals, we may not be conscious of it, but how we show up, not just physically, but how we react to issues, how we react to crises, essentially transmits to others. And it's not just at work, to be honest. This is not about a CEO talk. We all think we're fancy because of the jobs we do. I'm a father to a teenage son. How we show up at home sets an example. How we show up at work sets an example. How we show up in our community sets an example. So I think the broad answer I'd give to your question is ultimately how we as individuals react through mind, body, and soul ultimately impacts everyone around us, and that's what ultimately creates culture at work. That's what creates an environment at home. So that's the biggest thing which I try and focus on, which I try and think of how do I integrate all three. It's not just about being physically fit, it's not just about being good at your work, it's not just about having energy, it's how do you integrate all of those three to provide the right atmosphere, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's in other groupings I'm in.
Great. We'll go to Ms. Anupriya. Amidst the creative chaos of advertising agency, what simple hack or system do you swear by to stay consistent with wellness and follow those client deadlines?
Very apt question, I must say. Firstly, thank you very much for having me over here, and I think it's a brilliant initiative, so it's a pleasure to be here for me. Thank you. Coming to how I manage myself so that we can lead the creative chaos that is there in the organization all the time, and something which we all revel in. I think that's the culture of advertising. For me, the thing that helps me most is to get up and get going, which essentially means that I definitely lock in a high energy session, a workout right in the morning. It could be anything, but I almost always start my day with that. It brings on the energy, and it also strangely brings in a lot of calm and positivity. Everything that is required in office to manage an operation where anything can hit you anytime, and you need to take decisions really fast and stay calm under pressure. And like you rightly said, ours is a solutions industry, so there are a lot of client pressures. The only way to stay ahead of that is, one, if you can lead yourself and you can proactively create time for the disorganized day that you might end up having. So that's what really helps me. I ensure that all of this is out of my way right in the morning.
So, I've been a journalist for 20 years, and I'll tell you, advertising, what goes on in advertising offices comes quite close to what goes on in newsrooms and,
Correct.
media
Right.
offices. And I have had editors who were like chain smokers. After editing a single story, they will go out and, they'll smoke and come back and they'll turn fabulous pieces, after that. But in newsrooms, I have seen editors getting angry very soon, So does that really happen in advertising agencies too? And during those times, how do you control yourself and what do you tell yourselves?
Again, a very good question. So, high pressure is not only in journalism or advertising. High pressure is everywhere, including sport, including running a household. It's a very high pressure job.
I think it's journalism and advertising is not about high pressure, but more about frustration that comes out.
Again, I would argue, as a woman, I can argue that there's enough frustration when you're raising up a kid as well. When you're a mom to a young kid, you can have a lot of frustration. I'll draw some parallels. So, I got into, so I have had a very active childhood, and then adulting takes over and you get busy with work and life and, family and all of that. And I must say that one of the biggest, when I became a young mom, I realized that just coping with the family and the kid and the work brought in a lot of frustration in me, more than possibly what I have ever faced in work. Because over there, everything that you're doing is just managing work. Okay, but here you have a young kid to sort of a baby to look after and so many other pressures. So I used to obviously pretty get angry very quickly at those times. And the one thing that really helped me, strangely, was running. I could fit in my schedule anytime and didn't need any trainer for that. And it could happen anytime and you don't need a gear. So that takes out the negative energy from you. You come back really happy. And I've pretty much utilized that training in my work as well.
Can you, I would like to know from both of you, one non-negotiable fitness habit that you follow in your daily routine?
One is, of course, getting in and locking in a session, which brings in calm and energy both at the same time. But for that, obviously, the other thing that I need to do is tuck in early in bed and ensure that I have a very restful and recovery at night. Because that keeps me ready in the morning for everything that the day might hit me with.
Okay.
Yeah. So, good question. I maybe don't have one habit, but maybe I'll select a couple. So, one thing I try and do every day as far as possible is start the day really early. So like wake up at 5 a.m. My days when I'm not traveling usually start with going with my son to the gym and practicing karate together. Both of us have been learning karate now for several years. Both of us are black belts. But for me, it's not just the physical exercise. As I said, ultimately, you'll be best off if you can integrate mind, body, soul. For me, that's time with my son alone, doing stuff together early in the morning, getting a start to the day where you're getting in physical exercise as well as mental groundedness. So that's something I try and do every day. The second habit I have is just being mindful of how much time you are spending sitting down at a desk looking at screens or on calls. Because ultimately, I guess similar to your business, none of us actually makes anything or sells anything. Right? Our success comes from helping people who do that stuff. So I always try and rationalize the time where you're sitting at a desk versus when you're out in the market, you're meeting consumers, you're meeting your teams, because that also, to me feeds my soul, because then you're meeting with people, you're sharing ideas. I think it's very easy in the corporate world to get sucked into I'm doing reviews and looking at presentations and this is what I do. That's actually a big waste of time most of the time. So those are the two things I try and do on a daily basis.
Is there any guidance or advice that you would like to give to young people to stay calm during those boardroom battles or client deadlines and the hectic pressure that is building on with both of you?
Okay, so I feel very strongly about this topic, which is also the reason I'm here. We have started a program called PubFit because our organization is Publicis, so PubFit. And we believe that since people spend almost close to, a large part of their waking life in office, I think it is imperative on organizations. It is important that organizations give the right direction for the people. The relationship with your people and talent cannot be transactional, which is that you do work and you get some compensation. We do believe that fit individuals, healthy individuals, contribute to great workforces and great societies. So we've introduced this program just right after the pandemic. We believe that we thought that it was important that we do this journey and create a culture of fitness and well-being where people prioritize themselves, including women, which normally get left out in this journey as nurturers, to ensure that and these are all like, because you especially asked a question for young people, I think it's not overly complicated to stay fit and stay calm. Small hacks across movement, like Mainak said, that move through the day, just ensure that you're doing some movement and not sitting in one place for a pretty long time. Or be mindful of what you're putting inside yourself. Young people spend a lot of time in terms of what are they wearing, how are they looking, and all of that. They need to spend a little time thinking what they're putting inside their body. So just a little being a bit mindful on that. and possibly not watch endless screen time and tuck in a bit early. I think that should be enough.
No, I think it's an interesting question in terms of how to stay calm in crisis. I think you cannot teach anyone to stay calm in crisis, because that's, if you're talking to people when there's a crisis, it's already too late. I think if I take an analogy from the martial arts, when you, or anything, if you do anything regularly, run, play music, do the martial arts, what you build is muscle memory. So if you are asking somebody to develop calmness, you can't tell somebody to wake up one day and say, today I shall be calm in crisis. You need to build that muscle memory. And the only way of building muscle memory is practicing something every day. And I had 3 thoughts on how you can do that to build calm. First is, ask yourself, why do people freak out during crisis? It usually stems from a deep sense of personal insecurity. Right? So the best antidote to that is, how do you build positivity in your own mind? Because when people react, the question behind the question is, oh my God, what does this mean for me? Will I get fired? What will people think of me? How do you build positivity? And different people can do that in different ways. There's no formula. Spend time with loved ones, listen to music, create something, write, but get some time every single day where you're doing something which feeds your soul. For me, that's writing.
Time is a luxury in a city like Mumbai.
I'll come to that, which is a cop-out everybody has. I'll come to that. The second is, everybody has time, something which I do is, if you dispassionately analyze what do you do throughout the day, everyone has dead spaces. Get rid of those dead spaces. Even if all you're doing is relaxing, be deliberate that I'm relaxing. Because everybody will say, I'm busy. If you actually map out, what are you doing? There's always time. I'll tell you what I do. So I grew up in a family which served
time for CEOs, actually.
No, there's time for everybody. I grew up in a family which had nothing to do with the corporate world. Again, we make it sound very fancy. The stuff we do is actually not that tough. I grew up in a family that served in uniform. When you talk to Jawans who serve, their life is far tougher than any CEO's life. There are far more demands on their time. What they will tell you, their simple life hacks are, जब मौका मिले सो लो. Because क्या पता कब क्या हो जाए. Take power naps. When you get time to decompress. You don't always have to be busy. That's important, right? Second thing is the importance of discipline. Their lives are regimented. Every minute of the day you are doing something, even if it's time to decompress. In our lives, we get very soft and then we wallow in self-pity. Oh, we're so busy because we're trying to make ourselves feel really special. You have time. What are you doing with the time? And then the third thing I would say, on top of being positive and being really disciplined with your time, especially if you're talking about being calm, is I feel we talk of exercising physical muscles. My provocative question to a lot of people in the corporate world is, how are you exercising your mental muscles? Because ultimately, this isn't new stuff. People have been figuring this out for thousands of years. So something I do every year is I read the Bhagavad Gita every year. Once a year I'll read the Bhagavad Gita.
You reframe the question, how do you unwind yourself?
Yeah, how do you unwind? And it's not just unwind mindlessly, it is actually enrich yourself, which can be having meaningful conversations with somebody, which can be spirituality. So for me, I do read the Bhagavad Gita every year because I think there's a lot to be learnt. People were dealing with these issues thousands of years before corporates were invented.
Yeah, every time it comes up with something new.
Yeah, and I think that's where I would encourage people to get beyond the crisis, day-to-day work. Ultimately, as people, we all need that. We need to nourish our bodies, nourish our minds, nourish our souls, and have the discipline to find time for it.
So that brings me to a question. Is spirituality the best exercise that you can do during the day to unwind yourself? Or as he says, it's the motive is not only to unwind, but to enrich yourself. What's your take?
Well, I haven't gone into any journey of spirituality, so to say. But I do believe that whatever you do, you should do it very mindfully. And so when there is a time for everything. So if you are at work, you are with colleagues, you are with clients, you are meeting deadlines, you should be fully present there so that you bring your best version of yourself to whatever you're doing. And similarly, for example, like Mainak as well said, let's say you are reading a book, or you're spending time with your child, or you're spending time with your friends. You need to be mindful over there, not be half present. And to me, that equals spirituality, and not necessarily that whether I have, I'm doing breath work, I'm like focusing on what is the present and all of that. So that's what I really do.
Okay, we'll wrap the session here. And if these CEOs, can find time for fitness in the frenzy, what is our excuse? Thank you.